I always thought the scariest part of becoming a new mom would be the sleepless nights, the crying, the overwhelm. I was wrong. The scariest part was realizing someone was watching us inside our own home. Someone I trusted, someone who smiled in my face, someone who insisted she only wanted to help. Before I begin, hit the like button if you want more shocking family stories like this. It helps the channel more than you know. Now, let me take you back to the night everything changed. It was 2:17 a.m. Dark, silent, my husband asleep beside me. I woke to a tiny clicking noise, the kind you hear when a camera switches angles. I rubbed my eyes. The baby monitor screen wasn't on, but the little blue light on the camera in our daughter's room was glowing. Someone had turned it on. I sat upright. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. There was no sound, no crying, no movement, just that blue light. I whispered, "Ethan, wake up. The camera's on." He didn't wake. I stared at that glowing dot for 30 seconds, then 40, then 50, and suddenly the camera tilted, slowly, deliberately, like someone was controlling it. That was the first night I realized we weren't alone. And trust me, it was only the beginning. But let me rewind for just a moment. My name is Leela. I'm 27, married to Ethan for 3 years, and our daughter, Rosie, is 6 months old. Our life wasn't perfect, but it was good. Sweet, soft, quiet. The only complication? My mother-in-law, Sylvia. Sylvia was, well, she was the kind of woman who smiled like a sweet grandmother, but looked at you like she was grading your entire existence. She lived 15 minutes away, close enough to drop by, far enough to pretend it was accidental. Before the baby was born, her behavior was manageable. A few passive-aggressive comments here and there, a few boundary pushes. But once Rosie came, something changed inside her. She became obsessed. And I don't mean the normal grandma excited for a baby kind of obsessed. I mean the kind of obsessed where 1. She insisted on choosing the baby name. 2. She wanted her own car seat for emergencies. 3. She said she should have a key to our home in case we're not answering. 4. She questioned everything I did, from feeding schedules to diapers. 5. She tried to take pictures of every corner of the nursery. And 6. She told Ethan, "Don't worry, I'll help you raise her the right way." But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for what she did with the baby monitor. The first time something felt off was 2 weeks after we installed the monitor. I walked into Rosie's nursery, humming to myself, ready to put away laundry. But something was wrong. The camera, which I'd carefully positioned in the corner, had moved. Not slightly, a lot. I frowned and called out to Ethan, "Did you readjust the baby cam?" He shook his head. "No, you did, right?" "No." We stared at each other. I remember that moment like a cold stone in my stomach, that first tiny sense of something that didn't fit. I should have asked more questions that day. But I didn't. Not yet. That afternoon, Sylvia came over uninvited. She walked in with her usual sugary voice. "Oh, Leela, you look exhausted. Let me hold the baby. You must need a break." I forced a smile. "I'm okay, actually. She just went down for a nap." Her eyes flicked instantly, almost instinctively, to the baby monitor screen on the kitchen counter. "Oh, nap time? For how long? What time does she usually?" She stopped herself, but her eyes lingered. Too long, too interested, and something inside me tightened. She asked polite questions, but with the intensity of someone gathering intel. I brushed it off. But that night, I remembered the camera had moved. I wish I had put the pieces together earlier. A week later, I was feeding Rosie and scrolling through the monitor app to check her nap schedule. Something caught my eye. A tiny notification. New login detected. My thumb froze above the screen. It wasn't me. It wasn't Ethan. No one else had the password. I called out, louder than I intended, "Ethan!" He came rushing from the living room. "What's wrong?" I showed him the notification. He frowned but shrugged. Probably a glitch, or one of us logged in without noticing. "No," I said quietly. "This is new. Look, it says external login. We only use our phones, no laptop." Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "Let's just reset the password later, okay?" Later. That word bothered me. But fine, later. We never ended up resetting it, and that was my biggest mistake. The next few days, strange things kept happening. 1, the baby monitor would turn on randomly. 2, Rosie would cry and the camera turned to face the crib before I touched my phone. 3, the app showed the camera angle had changed 6 times overnight. 4, static sounds would play at exactly 11 p.m. every night. 5, the night vision mode would flash like someone was testing it. I told myself maybe it was faulty. I told myself maybe I was imagining things. But everything changed when Sylvia made a comment she had no business knowing. It was a Friday morning. Sylvia came over again, acting sweet. She sat on the couch, holding Rosie, rocking her gently. Then she said it. "So, you cried last night?" I froze. My throat closed. "What?" "Oh, sweetheart," she said, smiling like she pitied me. "Motherhood is hard. I heard you crying in Rosie's room at around 2. I felt every hair on my arms stand up. I hadn't cried. I had been awake at 2 a.m. because the camera turned on by itself. But I hadn't cried. I hadn't made a sound. So how did she know I was in the nursery at that exact time? I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I felt it. She wasn't just watching the baby, she was watching me. If you're still here, make sure you subscribe right now. The next part of the story is where everything starts spiraling out of control. That night, I decided to test something. I walked into the nursery at 1 a.m., pacing slowly around the room, pretending to check diapers, toys, the crib. My phone was off, Ethan was asleep, but after a few minutes, the camera turned, following my movements. Left, right, pause, down, like a pair of mechanical eyes watching my every step. My breath caught. I whispered, barely audible, "Who's doing this?" But deep down, I already knew. The moment the camera turned to follow me, something inside me snapped. Not fear, not anxiety, something colder, sharper, a realization. Someone was controlling it in real time, and there was only one person with both motive and access, Sylvia. But if I confronted her now, she would deny everything. She would call me dramatic, hormonal, overwhelmed. So instead, I decided to watch her. She logged in again, right now. The next morning, Ethan left for work early. Rosie was asleep. I made coffee and opened the baby monitor app. And there it was, a flashing icon, live view, one user. Someone was logged in, right now, watching the empty nursery at 8:13 a.m. My pulse spiked. My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I whispered into the empty kitchen, "Got you." I clicked the activity log. There it was. User, external device. Location, unknown. Duration, 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Someone had been watching before I even opened the app. I dragged a shaky breath into my lungs. I didn't call Ethan. I didn't panic. Instead, I took screenshots. Every single log. If someone was spying on my baby, on me, I needed proof. Real proof. I slipped my phone into my pocket, walked to the living room, and pretended to go about my day. But inside, I was ready for war. Sylvia slips up again. Around noon, Sylvia walked into our house without knocking. Again. She carried a bag of groceries and a wide smile plastered too tightly on her face. "Oh, Leela, I brought you some things. Thought you might need help." I forced my lips into something like a smile. How thoughtful. She placed the groceries down and instantly craned her neck toward the baby monitor screen. But I had flipped it face down before she arrived. Her smile faltered. Just a flicker, but enough. "Where's the baby monitor? You always leave it on the counter." I shrugged. I moved it. Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment, there it was. That flash of irritation, that sense of entitlement, like I had taken something from her. Then she covered it with a sugary laugh. "Oh, well, you know me, just making sure the baby's safe." I watched her closely. Her eyes drifted to the nursery door, then to my phone in my pocket. She was checking if the monitor was on. I saw it. She knew it, but neither of us said a word, because now we were playing a silent game, and only one of us understood the rules had changed. The camera moves while Sylvia is standing in the nursery. Later that afternoon, Sylvia asked to put Rosie down for a nap. I hesitated, but agreed. I followed behind her, pretending to tidy up toys, but really, I was studying her posture, her hands, watching for something. The second she entered the nursery, I saw her eyes go straight to the camera. Her lips twitched. Not a smile, something else. She placed Rosie gently into the crib. I stayed near the doorway, pretending to wipe a shelf. Then it happened. The camera rotated toward her, not toward the crib, toward her. She didn't jump. She didn't gasp. She didn't even look surprised. She smiled at it, a tiny, proud smile, like greeting an old friend. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. She whispered so soft I almost didn't catch it. "There we go." What "there we go"? What was she doing? I slipped out of the room, pretending not to notice. But something was clear. She knew exactly when the camera was on, because she was the one turning it on. Ethan thinks I'm overreacting. That evening, I showed Ethan the login logs. His reaction? A sigh. A shrug. "Babe, this could be anything. The app glitches. Maybe someone accidentally opened it." "Who?" I snapped. "Who has our password? Who is logging in at 2 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 a.m., 11 p.m.? Who watched me pacing in the nursery last night?" He rubbed his temples. "Maybe you opened it and forgot." "I didn't. Ethan, someone is watching us." He paused. Then he said the worst thing he could have said. "Is it possible you're just stressed?" My chest tightened. There it was. The dismissal, the disbelief. Sylvia had gotten into his head over the past few weeks, whispering that I looked overwhelmed, emotional, sleep-deprived, unstable. She was setting the stage. I didn't know it yet, but her plan was already in motion. The next day, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. A small, faint bruise on Rosie's arm. Barely noticeable, but it was there. I stood frozen, staring at it. I felt sick. Had I done that? Had Ethan? No, I knew my own hands. I knew Ethan. Neither of us would ever grip her that hard. I swallowed hard and dialed Ethan. He answered on the second ring. "Yeah? Ethan, come home. Something's wrong." "What happened?" "Rosie, she has a bruise." There was silence. Then, "Are you sure you didn't—" I hung up on him. For the first time since all this started, I felt afraid. Not paranoid, not anxious. Afraid. Because something was happening to my baby, and someone was collecting evidence against me. When Sylvia arrived later that afternoon, she didn't barge in smiling like usual. She walked in slowly, softly, eyes filled with exaggerated sympathy. "Oh, sweetheart, I heard Rosie has a bruise." I froze. My grip tightened around the baby. I didn't tell anyone except Ethan. "Oh, he called me immediately. He sounded so worried about you." Her tone was full of implication. I responded through clenched teeth. "I don't know how she got it." Sylvia nodded slowly, almost too slowly. "Well, sometimes accidents happen, but sometimes mothers don't even realize they're being rough when they're tired." My heartbeat roared in my ears. This wasn't concern. This was accusation. She was building a narrative, a case, a story. But why? Why would she want me to look like a bad mother? Unless she wanted something. Something huge. Something terrifying. Custody. Sylvia walked out of the nursery to make tea, leaving her phone on the bed. A notification buzzed. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The screen lit up. I saw a folder name pop up in her recent files. A folder she had accessed that morning. A folder labeled Rosie Evidence. I nearly dropped the phone. My fingers went numb. My breath caught in my throat. Evidence? Evidence of what? My hands shook as I tapped the folder. Inside were screenshots from the baby monitor, timestamps of every time Rosie cried, notes like Leela left baby crying 4 minutes, photos zoomed in on my face while holding Rosie, a screenshot labeled Leela yelling 2:17 a.m., a recording of me pacing the room at night. A chill raced up my spine. She wasn't just watching. She was documenting, collecting, preparing. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. This wasn't obsession. It wasn't smothering love. It was something darker, something strategic, something dangerous. Before I could read more, Sylvia walked back into the room. Find something interesting, sweetheart? I froze. She smiled. A slow, knowing smile. One that said, "You're already too late." Sylvia's smile didn't look like a grandmother's smile. It looked like victory. Like she had been waiting for me to discover the folder because she wanted me to know I was losing. I placed her phone back exactly where it was, forcing my breathing to steady. Her eyes tracked my hands, too calmly, too knowingly. Then she said, "You seem shaken, Leela. Are you feeling okay? Emotionally?" Emotionally. The word hung in the air like poison. I swallowed hard. "I'm fine." She tisked softly. "Oh, sweetheart, I don't think you are." My fingers curled involuntarily. She glanced toward the doorway, toward the baby monitor, and said softly, "These things, they can be overwhelming for new mothers. Some mothers don't realize how much they're struggling." Her voice was honey-coated venom. I didn't respond, because now I knew. She was already building a story about me. A story where I was unstable. A story where she was the hero. A story where Rosie belonged to her. Why is CPS calling me? 2 days later, I was rocking Rosie in the living room when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, distracted. "Hello? Hi, this is Megan from Child Protective Services." Everything inside me froze. My voice cracked. Why? Why are you calling me?" "We received an anonymous report about potential neglect involving your infant daughter." My stomach dropped so fast I thought I would faint. No, this is a mistake. Who filed this?" "I'm sorry, ma'am. Reports are confidential. We just need to schedule a home visit." I stared at Rosie in my arms, tears blurring my vision. Someone had reported me. Someone wanted CPS involved. Someone wanted me gone. And there was only one person collecting evidence: Sylvia. My chest tightened so hard I couldn't breathe. "Ma'am," the CPS worker asked gently, "are you there?" "Yes," I whispered. I forced my voice steady. "When do you need to come?" "Tomorrow morning." Tomorrow she would be in my home. My knees nearly buckled. When I hung up, I collapsed onto the floor with Rosie in my arms. I whispered into her hair, "I'm not losing you. I'm not letting her take you. Not now, not ever." Ethan finally snaps. When Ethan came home, I told him about the CPS call. He paled. "What? Why? Who would?" But before he finished, I saw it in his eyes. Doubt. Not full belief, not full denial, just doubt. He ran a hand through his hair. Maybe someone heard you yelling, or maybe they misunderstood something." "I don't yell at her," I snapped. I don't hurt her. I don't neglect her. I don't neglect her. You know that. I know, Leela, but what? My voice cracked. Your mom is behind this. The words spilled out before I could stop them. Ethan's face went red. No, no, she would never. She has been watching us. She knew things she couldn't know. She has a folder called Rosy Evidence. Ethan froze. His jaw twitched. And you looked in her phone? That's what you heard, not the fact she's collecting evidence against me. He opened his mouth, then closed it. That hesitation hurt more than any insult could. You don't believe me, I whispered. He didn't answer, which was an answer. The camera catches something new. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. Rosie was fussy, so I rocked her in the nursery, pacing slowly. The camera was off. I had unplugged it. But then, a tiny red light blinked. Once. Twice. I froze. Impossible. It wasn't connected. Not to the wall, not to Wi-Fi. But the light flickered anyway, like someone was trying to reconnect it remotely. I held Rosie closer. Not this time, I whispered. I grabbed a towel, climbed onto the chair, and wrapped the entire camera in it, blocking the lens completely. I unplugged the router, turned off Wi-Fi data on my phone. I sat down in the rocking chair with Rosie on my chest, and for the first time in days, I felt a little safer. But that feeling didn't last long, because the real nightmare began the next morning. The CPS home visit. At exactly 9:03 a.m., there was a knock at the door. Ethan had already left for work, conveniently. I opened the door to find a woman with a clipboard and kind eyes. "Hi, I'm Megan. We spoke yesterday." I forced a smile. "Yes, please come in." She walked through the house slowly, checking the kitchen, the living room, the nursery. She asked questions, and I answered every one. She checked Rosie's arms and legs. She paused at the faint bruise. My stomach twist. "How did she get this?" she asked gently. I don't know, honestly. I wish I did." Her expression softened. "I understand. Babies can bruise more easily than people think." Relief loosened my chest, a little. But the relief lasted less than 10 seconds. Because as Megan walked out the door, Sylvia walked in. Smiling. Too innocent. Too bright. "Oh, Megan, hello. Is everything okay?" Megan paused. "You must be the grandmother." Sylvia clasped her hands with dramatic worry. "Yes, I just want my granddaughter to be safe." Safe. The way she said it made my stomach twist. The CPS worker thanked us and left. Sylvia waited until the door closed. Then she turned to me, smile fading. "You shouldn't have unplugged the camera." A cold wave rolled over me. I can always file a follow-up report. Sylvia took a step closer. Her voice dropped low. "Do you know what happens when cameras stop working in a house with an infant? It looks suspicious." I stared at her. She continued, "Luckily, I'm here to help, to step in if needed." My breath shook. "You're trying to take her from me." Sylvia tilted her head. "I'm trying to protect her." "From me?" "From your instability." My nails dug into my palms. "You don't get to decide that." Sylvia smiled a slow, chilling smile. "Oh, sweetheart, CPS does." Then she leaned in and whispered, "And I can always file a follow-up report." Something inside me snapped. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't overbearing love. This was a plan. A long, calculated plan. The hidden camera. That night, I searched the nursery. Every drawer, every toy, every inch. Because something didn't make sense. Sylvia always seemed to know too much, even when the baby monitor was unplugged. So where was she getting the information? After 30 minutes of searching, I sat down hard on the floor, exhausted. Rosie was in my lap, babbling softly. Then she knocked over a stuffed bear with her foot. It rolled to its side, and that's when I saw it. A tiny, almost invisible lens embedded in the eye of the stuffed bear. My stomach dropped so violently I nearly vomited. A camera, a second camera,
One I didn't install, one Sylvia must have planted. With shaking hands, I picked it up. The back was stitched sloppily, by hand, not factory made. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't imagination. It was real. She had planted a spy camera in my child's toy. I felt my hands trembling with rage. Rosie fussed, sensing my panic. I cradled her, whispering, "No more, no more. I'm ending this." Because this wasn't just creepy, it was criminal. And now I had my own evidence.
I didn't sleep that night, not even for a second. I sat in the nursery, the hidden bear camera on the floor beside me, staring at it like it was a venomous snake. Every second that passed, my fear turned into something sharper, anger. But it wasn't just anger, it was clarity. This was intentional. This was targeted. This was a setup. Sylvia wasn't just watching me, she was building a case. And with CPS already involved, even with a low priority note, another report could tip everything against me. I knew one thing. If I didn't act now, she would take everything from me. Ethan sees the camera, and he doesn't believe me. At 6:20 a.m., Ethan walked into the nursery, rubbing his eyes. "Why are you up so early?" His gaze landed on the teddy bear, gutted open, wires exposed, the tiny lens glinting in the early light. He froze. "What is that?" I looked up at him, exhausted. A hidden camera. In Rosie's toy. Sylvia put it there. He ran a hand through his hair. "Wait, what? How do you know she?" "Because she is the only one with motive and access," I snapped. Ethan shook his head hard. "I don't think my mom would." "Oh my God," I said, standing slowly. "Do you hear yourself? A camera was in our baby's toy?" Ethan raised his hands. Okay, but let's think before we assume. Anyone could have." I laughed. I actually laughed. A short, broken, humorless laugh. Who else would sneak into our nursery, sew a camera inside a toy, and connect it to our Wi-Fi? Santa? Ethan's face reddened. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Because he knew. He just didn't want to admit it. He whispered, "Leela, she's my mom. And I'm your wife. And this," I gestured around the nursery, "this is our baby, our family. So choose." His jaw clenched. But he didn't choose. Not then, not yet. The camera leads to a bigger secret. After Ethan left for work in silence, I sat in the living room with the bear camera next to me. I opened the back panel again. Inside, next to the lens and battery, was something else. A tiny memory card. My heart jumped. Hands trembling, I slid it out and held it up to the light. What was on it? Recordings? Photos? Audio? Hours worth? Days? Weeks? My breath caught. If Sylvia had this camera in the nursery for weeks, she had everything. Every moment, every frustration, every tired sigh, every late-night pacing, every diaper change, every private moment. And if she twisted any of it, she could weaponize it. I swallowed hard and inserted the memory card into my laptop. I wasn't prepared for what I saw. Not at all. The first video clip. The first file opened automatically. It was labeled Clip 001, 3:18 a.m. The video was grainy, but clear enough. It showed me, standing in the nursery with Rosie in my arms, exhausted, half swaying, tears in my eyes. I was crying softly. I didn't even remember this night. But I was crying. It looked bad, like I was overwhelmed, like I was struggling, and Sylvia had saved it. The next clip? Clip 002, 11:04 p.m. In this one, I tripped slightly on a blanket and nearly stumbled while holding Rosie. I caught myself. Nothing happened.
but on video, it looked terrifying, like a close call. I clutched my head with both hands. Oh my God, this wasn't just surveillance, it was selective surveillance. Clips made to paint me as unstable, as unsafe, as unfit. My stomach twisted. How many clips were there? Dozens? Hundreds? I clicked the next one.
Then the nursery came into view. But this time, I wasn't in the room. Rosie was asleep in the crib, and someone stepped into the nursery. A shadow first, then a figure. A woman, moving slowly, her hair pulled back, her stance familiar. My breath caught. "No," I whispered. "Ethan's mother, Sylvia, walking into my home at 1:13 a.m. She moved toward the crib and slowly ran her hand over Rosie's back. Then she adjusted the blanket. Then she adjusted it again and again. At first, it looked sweet. Then it started to look strange. She kept rearranging the blanket, pulling it up, pulling it down, tucking it too tightly, untucking it, obsessively. Then she whispered something, so soft I had to replay it 4 times. "Don't worry, baby girl. Soon you'll be safe." Safe from what? From me? From Ethan? My chest tightened like a fist was around my heart. Then Sylvia did something that made my entire body go cold. She leaned toward the crib and pinched Rosie's arm. Not hard, not enough to hurt her badly, but enough to leave a bruise. A tiny bruise. The bruise. The one Sylvia noticed days later. The one that almost got CPS involved. I clapped a hand over my mouth to stop myself from screaming, but I couldn't stop the tears. Sylvia hurt my baby to frame me. She hurt my daughter to make me look abusive. My vision swam. My hands shook so violently I could barely click the next file. But I did, because I needed to see everything. The clip Ethan needs to see. The final clip wasn't labeled. It was just called important.mp4. I clicked it. It showed Sylvia sitting in our nursery rocking chair, talking directly to the camera. "Hi," she said in a sweet, rehearsed voice. "I'm documenting this because I'm very concerned about my granddaughter's safety." I choked on a breath. She continued, "Leela is overwhelmed, emotional. She cries often. She yells. She forgets things. She leaves the baby unattended. I've already filed a report." My heart hammered so violently I thought I might faint. She wasn't even hiding it. She was confessing, proud of it. Then she stood up and said calmly, "I believe I'm the best person to care for this child." No emotion, no hesitation, just cold certainty. She reached toward the crib. The clip cut off. I pressed my hand against my mouth to stop myself from vomiting. My mind screamed, "Ethan needs to see this. He has to see this." This was the truth. She wasn't protecting Rosie. She was hurting her. She was breaking into our home. She was manipulating CPS. She was framing me for abuse. My vision swam. My hands shook so violently I could barely click the next file. But I did, because I needed to see everything. The clip Ethan needs to see. The final clip wasn't labeled. It was just called important.mp4. I clicked it. It showed Sylvia sitting in our nursery rocking chair, talking directly to the camera. "Hi," she said in a sweet, rehearsed voice. "I'm documenting this because I'm very concerned about my granddaughter's safety." I choked on a breath. She continued, "Leela is overwhelmed, emotional. She cries often. She yells. She forgets things. She leaves the baby unattended. I've already filed a report." My heart hammered so violently I thought I might faint. She wasn't even hiding it. She was confessing, proud of it.
Then she stood up and said calmly, "I believe I'm the best person to care for this child." No emotion, no hesitation, just cold certainty. She reached toward the crib. The clip cut off. I pressed my hand against my mouth to stop myself from vomiting. My mind screamed, "Ethan needs to see this. He has to see this." This was the truth. She wasn't protecting Rosie. She was hurting her. She was breaking into our home. She was manipulating CPS. She was framing me for abuse. She was plotting to take my baby. This wasn't obsession anymore. This was madness. The confrontation I didn't expect. I grabbed my phone. I texted Ethan only 2 words: "Come home." He didn't reply. Not for 10 minutes, not for 15. I paced the living room, holding Rosie, anxiety crawling up my spine. Finally, Ethan called. "What's going on?" "Just come home, now." "I'm at work, Leela." "Ethan." My voice cracked. "Now." He was silent for a moment. Then, "I'm on my way." I didn't wait. I transferred every clip to a secure folder. I saved duplicates. I emailed them to myself. I backed them up. Because Sylvia wasn't going to win. Not now, not ever. But I didn't expect what happened next, because 20 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Not Ethan's knock, a slower one, quieter, calculated. I already knew who it was before I opened the door. Sylvia, standing there, with a calm smile, like nothing was wrong, like she didn't know her entire world was about to collapse. She stepped forward slightly. "Leela, we need to talk."
Sylvia stepped into the doorway like she owned the house. Her face was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that only comes when someone believes they have already won. I stood there holding Rosie against my chest, feeling her warm breath on my collarbone. Every instinct in my body screamed to protect her. Sylvia folded her hands in front of her and spoke in a soft, patronizing voice. "Leela, sweetheart, we need to talk about your behavior." I felt something inside me ignite. Not fear, not panic, resolve. I raised my chin. "We are going to talk," I said, "but not the way you think." Her eyebrow twitched, the smallest sign that she felt the shift. She stepped inside, shutting the door behind her. A subtle, possessive gesture, as if this was her house, as if Rosie was her child, as if I was simply in the way. Hook 15. I know everything you've been doing. Sylvia took 2 steps forward. "Leela, I've been patient. I've been gentle, but you're spiraling. Ethan is worried. You're emotional, hysterical." "Stop," I snapped. Her eyes widened at the force of my voice. "I know everything," I said quietly. "Everything you've been doing. Everything you've been recording. Everything you've been planning." Her smile froze, and slowly, it slipped. "What exactly do you think I've been doing?" Her voice trembled slightly. Not with fear, with calculation. I stepped closer. "You hurt my baby." My voice cracked with rage. "You pinched her arm. You filmed me without my consent. You broke into my home at night. You planted a camera in her toy. You reported me to CPS." Sylvia flinched. Barely, but enough. Her pupils dilated. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she put on her fake, trembling voice, the one she uses to sound wounded and innocent. "Leela, listen to yourself. You're hallucinating. You're imagining. I have the videos." That stopped her cold. Her lips pressed into a tight line. Her eyes darted, left, right, calculating, recalculating. Then she said the most chilling thing I've ever heard.
Delete them. Section 14. The mask falls off completely. I stared at her. Delete them, I repeated. Yes, she whispered harshly. You don't understand what you're doing. You don't understand the consequences. I tightened my hold on Rosie. You're the one who should be afraid of consequences. For the first time since I'd known her, Sylvia's face changed. Not angry, not panicked, exposed. Her jaw tightened, her eyes narrowed, her voice dropped an entire octave. Listen to me carefully, Leela. Her tone made my skin crawl. You are not fit to raise that child. A chill ran through my spine. She continued, You're emotional, you're unstable, you don't sleep, you cry constantly, you don't even know how to hold her properly. Really? I cut in. Because the videos show you sneaking in and hurting her, not me. Her nostrils flared, and then she made a mistake, a big one. She stepped even closer and whispered, You don't deserve her. I do. I felt my entire body go still. You deserve her? I repeated softly. Sylvia's breath grew rapid, her composure slipping. Yes, she hissed. I raised Ethan. I know how to raise a child. You don't. You are ruining her. I'm the better mother. I'm the one she needs. My chest tightened with a sudden, crystalline rage. You're not her mother, I said quietly. Sylvia's face twisted. Oh, sweetheart, she tilted her head. I already told CPS you're unfit. There it was, the confession. But what she said next was worse. And if you don't delete those videos, I will make sure you never see Rosie again. I felt my blood turn to ice.
Just then, the front door opened. Footsteps. I didn't turn, because Sylvia didn't turn. Her eyes flickered briefly, and I saw it. She hadn't expected Ethan to hear that. Leela? His voice came from behind her. He sounded confused, tired, unsure. Sylvia's back straightened immediately. In seconds, her sweet, innocent grandmother mask reappeared. She spun around with a trembling voice, rushing toward him. Oh, Ethan, thank God you're home. Your wife is losing control. She's inventing stories. But Ethan held up a hand, to her. Stop. Sylvia froze mid-sentence. Ethan looked at me. What's going on? I swallowed. Show him, I whispered to myself. Then louder, I have proof, on my laptop. She's been recording us, framing me, hurting Rosie. Sylvia's face went pale. No, Ethan, she's lying. She's making things up. But Ethan didn't answer her. He walked slowly toward me. Show me. I grabbed the laptop from the coffee table and opened the folder. I clicked the clip. Clip 003, the one where Sylvia pinched Rosie. Ethan leaned in. The moment Sylvia appeared on screen, he stiffened. His jaw tightened. When she pinched Rosie, his entire body jerked forward. What the? He covered his mouth in shock. I clicked the next one, the confession video. We watched Sylvia, on screen, claiming she filed reports, saying she wanted custody. Ethan's face changed, slowly, painfully, like he was watching a person he didn't know wearing his mother's face. Sylvia lunged forward and slammed the laptop shut. That means nothing! Her voice cracked into a scream. But Ethan stepped between us. His voice was low, dangerously low. Mom, what did you do? Sylvia grabbed his arm. I did what I had to do, for Rosie, for you. She's not stable. Ethan pulled his arm away. Stop. No, you're blind, she sobbed. You don't see what she's doing to your child.
You hurt my child, he shouted. Silence fell like a thunderclap. Sylvia blinked. Then she whispered, I did what was necessary. Sylvia's breakdown. Ethan stared at her like she was a stranger. Mom, you planted cameras? You broke into our house? You filed CPS reports? Sylvia's shoulders slumped. Her voice dropped into a hollow whisper. You need me, Ethan. You both need me. I know better. I've always known better. Something terrified flickered in her eyes. A fractured truth, a belief she'd held on to for years. Ethan, I lost my first baby because I wasn't good enough. My breath caught. She continued, voice shaking violently. I promised myself if I ever saw a child in danger again, I'd step in. I had to step in. This was her motive, her secret, her fracture. She wasn't just controlling, she was traumatized. But trauma doesn't excuse violence. I'm taking Rosie, she whispered. Her voice was broken now. I can fix what happened. I can fix everything. Ethan took a deep breath. Mom, you need help. Sylvia blinked rapidly. Her face twisted. No, no, no. I'm not the problem. She is. She's the problem. She pointed at me like I was a monster. But Ethan stepped in front of me. Then he said the words that shattered Sylvia completely. You're not going anywhere near my daughter again. Sylvia recoiled as if he had struck her. No, Ethan, sweetheart, no, don't do this to me. He didn't look away. Leave. Now. For the first time in the entire story, Sylvia looked small. Not powerful, not manipulative, just broken. But dangerous. Very dangerous. She backed toward the door, trembling. You're making a mistake, she whispered. Then she turned and walked out. Quietly, too quietly. And the moment the door clicked shut, my knees buckled. The final twist. You think this is over? Ethan wrapped his arms around me, holding both me and Rosie tightly. His voice cracked against my hair. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, Leela. I didn't believe you. I'm sorry. I cried into his chest. For minutes, hours, I don't know. But as the tears slowed, fear rose again. Because Sylvia wasn't the type to give up. She wasn't the type to disappear. And I was right. Because an hour later, my phone buzzed. A text message from Sylvia. 4 words that sent chills down my spine. You think this is over?
Sylvia's text stayed on my screen like a stain. You think this is over? My first instinct was to delete it. My second was to scream. My third was to grab Ethan's arm and show him immediately. He read it, jaw tightening so hard I could hear his teeth grind. She's not coming near us again, he said. But fear crawled up my spine like a cold hand. You don't understand, I whispered. She's desperate. She thinks she's saving Rosie. People like that don't just stop. Ethan put his hands on my shoulders. I won't let her do anything, I promise. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But promises couldn't stop someone who had already broken into our home, who had already framed me, who had already hurt my baby. And when it came to Sylvia, promises were nothing, because she always found a way. The police call us before we call them. The next morning, we planned everything. File a police report, file a restraining order, show the evidence, change the locks, install new security cameras, reset all passwords, completely remove the baby monitor system. We were prepared. Or so we thought. At 10:43 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Again. I answered hesitantly. Hello? Hi, this is Officer Reed with the local police department. We received a wellness check request for your address.
My stomach bottomed out. What? Why? It was reported that an infant in the home was in immediate danger. My mouth went dry. No, no, not again. Not this soon. Ethan grabbed the phone from my hand. "This is Ethan Carter, homeowner. Who reported us?" "It was anonymous, sir," the officer replied, "but we're obligated to follow through." I felt like I was sinking into the floor. Another report, another attack. Sylvia wasn't just threatening us. She was already acting. I whispered, barely audible, "She's trying to take her now, today." Ethan's hands trembled. "Officer, please come. We have evidence you need to see." "Of course, sir. We'll be there shortly." As soon as the call ended, I felt the pressure behind my eyes. "She's escalating," I whispered. "She won't stop until she gets what she wants." Ethan pulled me close. "I won't let her win." But even he sounded scared. The police arrive. 2 officers arrived 20 minutes later. One spoke kindly, the other assessed the house with quiet skepticism, as if looking for something wrong. I held Rosie tight against my chest as they asked questions. "Is she fed?" "Yes." "Does she have any injuries?" "No." "Any medical conditions?" "No." Finally, they asked the question I'd been dreading. "Do you have any reason someone would report you?" I swallowed hard. "Yes," I whispered. "We do." Ethan pulled out the laptop and opened the folder. The officers leaned in as the first clip played. Silence filled the room. Deep, heavy silence. The officers stared at Sylvia on the screen. Her whispering, her touching the crib, her pinching Rosie, her confession. When it was over, the older officer exhaled sharply. "Jesus Christ." The younger one shook his head, horrified. This is serious." Then the older officer asked the question that changed everything. "When was this taken?" I checked the timestamp. 3 nights ago." He nodded. "We can work with this. And, with your permission, we'll document everything." "Yes," I breathed. "Yes, please." The officer closed the laptop gently. "We'll file this as evidence. If she comes near you or the child again, call 911 immediately." Ethan nodded, jaw clenched. But I noticed something. Something awful. In the reflection of the window, through the blinds, a car. A familiar one. Parked across the street. Watching. Sylvia's car. My blood ran cold. I tugged Ethan's sleeve, whispering, "She's here." "What?" "She's outside." Ethan turned his head subtly. He saw it too. Sylvia sitting behind the wheel, hands gripping the steering wheel, eyes fixed on the house. The older officer followed our gaze and stiffened. "That her?" I nodded, trembling. "Do you want us to approach her?" he asked. Ethan looked at me. I swallowed. "No, let her see we're documenting everything. Let her worry." It was risky, but Sylvia needed to understand one thing. We weren't afraid anymore. The officers stayed another 10 minutes, advising us on next steps, then left. When their car pulled away, Sylvia's car pulled away too. Slowly, silently, like a predator retreating into the shadows. But predators don't retreat forever. They wait. The calm before the final storm. That evening, the house felt too quiet, too still. Even with new security measures, I felt exposed. Ethan hovered around me, unable to relax. "We'll get the restraining order tomorrow," he said. I nodded, but I kept glancing at the windows, at the doors, at the baby monitor, now removed and placed inside a drawer, just in case. Every sound made my heart skip. Every creak felt like a warning. Around 11 p.m., exhaustion finally overtook me. Ethan took Rosie while I showered. When I stepped out, I heard something that froze my blood. The front door, opening. Softly, slowly. My heart leapt into my throat. I grabbed my robe and ran into the hallway. Ethan? No answer. My stomach twisted. I rushed toward the living room and stopped dead. The door was cracked open, the night breeze blowing through it, and outside, a shadow moved across the porch. Slow, creeping. I backed up, adrenaline spiking. Ethan? I whispered harshly. He came running from the bedroom. What happened? I pointed at the open door. His expression shifted instantly from confusion to fear. He grabbed the nearest object, a heavy flashlight, and moved cautiously toward the entrance. "Stay back," he whispered. But I didn't. I followed behind him, barefoot, trembling, clutching my robe. We reached the door. Ethan swung it open, but no one was there. The porch was empty, the yard silent. But something on the porch made my stomach drop. A small object, left on the welcome mat. A baby toy. Rosie's baby toy. The one Sylvia had gifted her weeks ago. A note taped to the toy. Ethan bent down, picked it up. There was a note taped to the side. My heart hammered so hard I could barely stand. Ethan peeled the note off. His face went white. He handed it to me with shaking fingers. A handwritten message. "You cannot protect her forever." My knees almost gave out. Ethan grabbed my shoulders. "That's it. We're calling the cops now." He dialed immediately. But as he spoke to the dispatcher, something occurred to me. Sylvia didn't just leave a threat. She left the toy she once claimed was Rosie's favorite. She thought she was sending a message, but she made a mistake, a huge mistake, because this toy, this stupid, innocent-looking toy, had her fingerprints all over it. Proof. Even more proof. This wasn't just harassment. This was stalking. This was child endangerment. This was grounds for a full protective order, for legal action. Finally, her perfect little plan was falling apart. Sylvia's arrest. The police arrived fast, faster than before. We showed them the toy, the note, the broken lock on the door, the security footage from our doorbell camera showing a silhouette approaching the porch at 10:57 p.m. It wasn't crystal clear, but clear enough. The officers exchanged looks. "This is enough to bring her in for questioning," one said. "Will she be arrested?" I asked. "If she resists," he replied. "And with everything else you've shown us, yes, likely." My breath shuddered out of me. It was happening. Finally. They left to locate her. We waited. Minutes felt like hours. Then, at 12:41 a.m., Ethan's phone buzzed. He answered. "Yes, this is him." I stood beside him, gripping his arm. I heard muffled talking on the other end. Ethan's face softened with relief, then hardened. He hung up. "She's in custody," he said. I inhaled sharply, my body sagging with release. A deep, heavy release I had been craving for weeks. Ethan pulled me into his chest. "It's over," he whispered. But I shook my head. "No, not until we're safe." He nodded. "We will be, I promise." For the first time since this nightmare began, I believed him.
Sylvia's arrest should have made me feel safe. But safety isn't a switch you flip on. It's a slow return to breathing normally, to not jumping at every noise, to believing the walls of your home belong to you again. That night, after the officers left, after Ethan locked every door and checked every window twice, I finally held Rosie and felt something close to peace. Not complete peace, but the beginning of it. Ethan sat beside me on the couch. He looked exhausted, broken, angry at himself. He whispered, "I'm so sorry I didn't believe you sooner." I shook my head. "You believed me when it mattered." His eyes softened, but pain still sat behind them. "I should have protected you," he said. "My own mother." "She manipulated you," I said gently. "She manipulated everything." He ran a hand through his hair, shaking his head as if trying to clear years of memories tainted by what she had done. His voice cracked. "She hurt our baby." "Yes," I whispered, "and now she'll have to face that." The aftermath. The next morning, CPS called again, but this time their tone was different. Processional, respectful, almost apologetic. "We've added the evidence you sent," the worker said. "Based on what we've reviewed, you are not under investigation anymore. In fact, it appears you and your child were the victims." A weight lifted from my chest, a weight I'd been carrying for weeks. "Thank you," I whispered. That same afternoon, the police updated us again. Sylvia was being charged with unauthorized surveillance, harassment, child endangerment, trespassing, filing false CPS reports. Hearing it laid out like that, all the crimes, all the violations, made my hands tremble. This wasn't just a nightmare. It was a crime spree, a calculated attack. But the officer added something else. "She's being evaluated by a mental health specialist," he said. "She may not fully understand the severity of what she's done." I nodded slowly. A part of me hated her. Another part of me pitied her. But neither part wanted her anywhere near my family again. "Do you want to submit a statement?" 2 days later, we received a formal request. "Would you like to submit a victim impact statement?" My chest tightened. This was my moment, my chance to tell the truth, my chance to take my power back. I sat at the dining table, Rosie sleeping in her bassinet beside me. Ethan placed his hand on my shoulder. "Say everything you need to say," he whispered. "Don't hold back." So I didn't. I wrote about the invasion of my home, the nights I couldn't sleep, the fear every time the camera turned, the bruise on my baby, the CPS calls, the note on the porch, the manipulation, the recording, the betrayal. Every word felt like a piece of weight lifted off my shoulders. By the time I finished, tears blurred my vision, but my chest felt lighter, free, for the first time, truly free. Rebuilding our family. Weeks passed, then months. Everything changed. We stopped using monitors with Wi-Fi. We paid for a security service. We moved into a new home across town. We built a nursery that felt safe again, warm, ours. Ethan started therapy to deal with the betrayal from his mother. I started therapy to process the fear, the trauma, the paranoia that still lingered. But most importantly, our family grew stronger. Every night, Ethan held Rosie and whispered, "You're safe. Daddy's here." Every morning, I fed her with a quiet peace in my chest I hadn't felt in months. We learned to laugh again, to breathe again, to trust again. We didn't erase the past, but we outgrew it. The final twist, Sylvia's letter. 6 months later, a letter arrived, forwarded from the facility where Sylvia was being held. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Her handwriting, messy, unsteady. It read, "I'm sorry for everything. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just didn't want to lose another baby." My breath hitched. Then the final line, "Please tell Rosie her grandmother loved her." I folded the letter, quietly, gently. Ethan walked over and held me, reading my expression. What did it say? I handed it to him. He read it silently. Then he said something that broke me and healed me at the same time. "I don't want her to ever be a part of Rosie's life, but I don't want to teach Rosie to hate her either." I nodded. Me neither. We both stood there in silence, not angry, not afraid, just accepting. The past would always be a scar, but scars aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of survival. I took my power back. I looked into Rosie's eyes that night as I rocked her to sleep. She smiled at me, soft, innocent, pure, and I whispered, "You're safe now. I fought for you. I will always fight for you." Because the truth is, Sylvia tried to break me. She tried to take everything from me.
She tried to rewrite my reality, but she failed. Because I didn't stay quiet, I didn't back down, I didn't let her win. I took my power back. For me, for Ethan, for Rosie. And if you've made it to the end of my story, I hope it reminds you you're stronger than you think. And no one gets to take your story away from you. If you want more unbelievable true family drama stories like this, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications, because the next story, you won't want to miss it.